Immerse your soul in love. Hey guys, what's up? And today I'm going to do a review on Radiohead's OK Computer. I'm going to be a bit brief and quick on this review because in the future I will probably do a re-review. But whatever the case may be, I'm gonna also be very detailed and the review is going to be very long and winding. So let's talk about this great album. So the band Radiohead, you know who, with frontman Tom York, bassist Ed O'Brien, we got Colin Greenwood, multi-instrumentalist Johnny Greenwood, and drummer Phil Selway, as well as artist Stanley Donwood and producer Nigel Godrich. We have the recipe to greatness. The band dropped Pablo Honey on 1993 with its young, angry, and rebellious sounds, and on the bends they sound more mature and thoughtful, although there are some moments of rage and discontent. Both albums are full of rusty and scratchy guitars, and both albums feel like a collection of youthful and truthful power hits. Meanwhile, on this album, it appears to be way different. Many people expected the Bends Part 2, which would probably be very noisy, wacky, and full of indie, folk, alt-rock tracks, but we get OK Computer, a surprisingly moody and deep album that changed the genre and broke the stereotype. The album started off with Airbag, with Colin's icy and bold bass riff that changes from cold to warm constantly, creating this bittersweet chord that feels refreshing and new. Tom York's vocals kicks in while guitars doodle and Christmas bells ring. The whole atmosphere became very festive. Tom screamed lively, "I am born again!" A powerful, powerful statement. Fun fact is that, in the car crash Tom had, the airbag didn't really save his life. So maybe this song is actually about the false sense of comfort and safety because of the technology, which is really smart. And the harmony part at the end is also really beautiful and moving, full of life and hope. With groove and rhythm, Airbag just got itself a 10. And in one of the greatest track transitions in musical history, the 4 beeps gave us the time to prepare for what chaos is about to come next on Paranoid Android. This 6.5-minute long piece of artwork is basically a mix of unfinished songs, just like Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody and the Beatles' Happiness is a Warm Gun. And this song is named after the depressed robot on The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. There are 3 parts, and the first part is jazzy and gloomy, setting the scene for an epic play. "What's that?" moaned Tom as he showed us the ugly truth about the modern society in a cute and light-hearted way. Part 2 takes a heavier and harsher turn. Condition makes you look pretty ugly. When the guitars start to get angry and Tom mocked those kicking, squealing, Gucci little piggies, like the woman he saw when someone spilled her drink. The woman just became an obnoxious monster. After the whacked up "you don't remember," we get to part 3. A way slower and moodier part where it feels like the song is forcing you to be sad, which is actually a good thing because it's the kind of discontent to the society, not a form of depression. The panic The Vomit, Tom named. Then he ominously added God Loves His Children, which made the song a lyrical masterpiece itself. And it ends abruptly with Johnny and his little guitar solo, which wraps up the song nicely. Although it is separated into parts, the whole thing felt really cohesive too, and the concept of chaos and fear is cartoony, so it was a joke before, but it turned out to be one of the greatest alt-rock tracks of all times. What can I say other than another 10 out of 10? The album soothes itself from its abstract angst and gets onto Subterranean, Homesick, Alien. With some Miles Davis Bitches Brew inspired keyboards and low-key stargazing bass riff, the song sounds really comfortable and easygoing. I misheard this word uptight as I'm tired for almost over a year, and that's embarrassing as a loyal fan. It's a cold, chill, and calm song where Thom Yorke steps out and analyzes humanity in an alien perspective. And although this song makes me want to go home, it has the word homesick in the title, and it's really underrated. I'm giving Subterranean Homesick Alien a 9. Enough with the wailing and the swooning on the sickness of society and the dangers of technology. We quietly transition into a very somber and dark track. Exit music for a film.
Wake from your sleep. We're drying up your tears.
Yes, it's a soundtrack for a film called Romeo and Juliet, and also various other movies and TV shows like Black Mirror, Person of Interest, and even Westworld. It's not as festive and hyped as the last 3 previous tracks because of its lack of percussions and just simply deep guitar chords and that ghoulish voice of Tom. It's about an escape of 2 persons who loved each other and they ended up killing themselves, which is just a speculation. But there are a lot of interpretations to the lyrics. I also really appreciate the somber and doomed guitars. It isn't the melancholy, moody feeling, it's the straight up terror and panic that strikes you immediately. This blood-curdling song of a deep knife cut also has an explosive climax that sends shivers to our spine. And at the end, with sounds of children playing in the back, a haunting phrase is chanted. We hope that you choke. That you choke. I'm giving this one a 10. The band continues to cry on the next track, Let Down. After one of the most horrifying endings ever to a song, sad and moody guitars from Johnny chimed in. Unlike the previous song, which builds to a terrifying climax, this song just goes down and down, and it doesn't mean it's bad, it sounds surprisingly great too. When it comes, it's so disappointing, Tom chanted. Again, with a theme of disappointment, the concept feeds into the ultimate mindset of depression. Although the first time I listened to it, I didn't like it that much because it just doesn't feel that special, but I listened to the song enough to actually like it. Especially the climax at the end really gives me goosebumps. I'm giving Let Down a 9 out of 10. The album pats our backs gently on Karma Police.
Karma police, arrest this girl in London. It's making me feel ill.
Clear and pure pianos played quietly at the beginning in a cold, warm fashion, like on Airbag. It's really hard to identify the chords for the song because it's just too convoluted, but yet unbelievably gorgeous. In fact, this is the song that got me into Radiohead, because the song is one of the most beautiful pieces of art ever. and thus the band Radiohead changed the way I listen to music. So Karma Police is one of those songs that changed the way I listen to music. Karma Police, arrest this girl. Her Hitler hairdo is making me feel ill, and we have crashed her party. These random but yet subtly meaningful lines came in a melancholic way. This is what you get, repeated Tom in the minimalistic chorus, just like crying. The pain seeps in at first, but then you'll suddenly slow down and comfort yourself, but quickly goes back to the painful state. And then you hit the climax. Oh my gosh. For a minute there, I lost myself. Tom screamed as all these instruments cried out loud in the most passionate way ever. Another song climax that sends shivers. It's so damn powerful and immense. Karma Police deserves a 10. Then the sound started to get glitchy and static as it transitioned into another interlude, fitter, happier.
Smiling in backseat, sleeping well, no bad dreams, no paranoia, careful to all animals.
Where a computer-generated voice reads off a list of statements like it's reading off from a manual set by standards of the society. As it reads off the list, it starts to feel emotionless, or simply too sad it feels numb, too fake and too pathetic, as these eerie, distorted sounds creep up in the background. It's such a traumatizing interlude. A pig in a cage on antibiotics, the voice said at the end, ending the interlude off with a plot twist. We are nothing but pigs in cages on antibiotics, the voice said at the end. It's dystopian and Orwellian. The society had successfully trapped us in this confined and toxic frame. I want to give this a 10, but it's just an interlude, so I don't know. The band knows that if another slow and moody song starts to play, the listeners will get tired. So the band refreshed our ears by popping in this angry, maniacal, wacky rocker, Electioneering.
I was stuck for nothing.
Johnny and Ed dueled off in a stray of insane guitars. Phil kept striking the cowbell impulsively, and Tom continued to rant about politics. It's a heavily grunge-inspired song fueled with energy. However, it's also one of the weaker moments on the record, but it's still a preacher ranting in front of a bank of microphones, according to Tom York. I'm still gonna give Electioneering an 8, because it's okay. Distorted sounds returned as we dive into this deep valley on Climbing Up the Walls.
I am a kid in a house that keeps you tied in the basement.
The atmosphere really slows down as the low-pitched bass riff comes in and these ominous ambient noises creeps in. Tom sounded like he was singing through a telephone throughout the whole song, and it really captures this dark and terrifying line. So lock the kids up safe tonight. Shut the eyes in the cupboard. Is a very scary and creepy line. Okay, 2 days later, I'm back. And then the climax hits and the goosebumps return. Just like the climax of The Great Gig in the Sky by Pink Floyd. The climax is galactic. The high-pitched guitar distortion from Johnny sounds really intoxicating and poisonous. The whole song felt like a warning. And as Tom York yelled at his guitar and all the pain is released. I'm giving this Climbing Up the Walls a 9 to a 10. After the great explosion, all that's left is the damning sense of dullness and emptiness on the track No Surprises. I wasn't a big fan of slow songs when I was 10 and 11, and this is the first Radiohead song I've listened to. and I didn't like it at first. It was just a sloppy, sappy lullaby. But then I changed my mind a couple years later, and now this song is one of the greatest. From the memorable one-take music video where Tom nearly drowned himself, we see him dead and petrified, and these lyrics reflected on the glass seal of the helmet, inverted. Then this iconic glockenspiel melody starts. Tom at one point sang, "Bring down the government. They don't speak for us." And this line is as good as it gets. This song really makes you feel depressed because of how fatigued and dreary the sound is, and it's the most exact embodiment of depression a song can ever get, if you know what I mean. It's cold, but it's not too cold. It's sad, but it's not too harsh. It goes on and on like sadness that brings you down and never stops. No Surprises will get a 10. Not a surprise for me. If you aren't traumatized yet, here's the slow guitar chant, Lucky. These constantly flickering machinery sound effects kept playing at the start. Reminds me of the sound effects on Unknown Pleasures. Then Colin's deep and brooding bass comes in. It feels genuinely happy, but also strangely apocalyptic, because it's just too peaceful and painful at the same time. The lyrics also have this dreamy feeling to it, and the climax is stunning too. It's originally on the Help album for Charity, but it also sounds profound and powerful. I'm giving Lucky a 10 to a 9. I want to stop giving 10s to this album because I feel like it's a little bit unfair, but this song is, again, as powerful as it gets. Okay, before I talk about the last track, I'm gonna quickly talk about all the B-sides that I love. Polyethylene is a really moving alt-rock track that feels energetic, and I love it. Pearly has this Wild West feel to it that makes it sound like Electioneering. The groovy Meeting in the Ale from Ed's guitars is memorable, and I like it. Palo Alto is probably my least favorite OK Computer B-side, but it's still really blissful. How I Made My Millions is incredibly somber and cold-blooded, with Tom's fuzzy vocals and Rachel Owen doing the dishes in the back. Rest in peace, by the way. I Promise is a sweet marching ballad, and the numbing bass line of Man of War, aka Big Boots, is amazing. While Lift, it does sound like Coldplay's Yellow, and its chorus, it's a little bit weird with the sound effects, but it's still a great track. Then the ending is called The Tourist, and it kind of feels anticlimactic. If you went through all these ups and downs of devastation and destruction, and you end up with a slow and moody song as an ending. But to me, it's not anticlimactic at all. It's strangely calm and peaceful, which actually somehow adds up to the tension and the stress. It makes the album sound perfect and complete, just like it makes depression and sadness in general disturbing, but yet okay. It feels like the song itself is saying that, yes, the world sucks, and the fear, the panic, and the stress sucks even more, but it's okay to be sad about it. It's okay because it's OK Computer. Get it? Okay, I'm gonna leave. Anyway, on this song, Tom used all his breath to stretch out all the syllables, and he yelled out on top of his lungs on the chorus, "Hey man, slow down." And that's one of the most emotional and powerful choruses to a song ever. At last, it just ends in normality with the ambiguous microwave ding at the end. And that, my friend, is one of the most immense and destructive ending to a great album. It's destructive in a peaceful and harmonic way. It's somnambulant, it's somber, it's drowsy but painful. I have to give it a 10. I have to. Overall, Radiohead had again evolved to an even more mature and musically ingenious band. This album deals with technology, paranoia, depression, disappointment, society, and the imperfection of perfection, which are topics that are great to talk about. The performances are powerful. The drums, guitars, the vocals, they are cohesive. And it makes the album cohesive as well. I seriously don't know why, but every single track on this album is also great, and I really don't have anything to complain about. I didn't like this album at first listen, but the more I listen to it, the more I love it. It really grows on you, I promise. If you heard this album for the first time, it's not gonna hit you that hard, but you must keep listening to it, and you'll realize how great of an album it actually is. And this album changed the music industry, like it changed the way I listen to music. And it also proves us that Radiohead is one of the best bands in the world, and certainly my favorite band in the world. So, at the end, I'm saying the worst track is Electioneering, and the best track is, well, it's a really hard pick, but I'm saying it's Paranoid Android. And I have to give it a perfect score. I have to personally give it a 10 out of 10. So, have you listened to Radiohead's OK Computer? From 1 to 10, how much would you rate it? Like if you like, and subscribe if you want more. And by the way, I just want to address that I may or may not do the Kid A review or Amnesiac or any albums after OK Computer because I want to focus on the newer albums. Anyway, thank you for watching.